You are listening to the Latina Lifestyle Legacy Podcast with your host, Reina Marufo. This podcast is dedicated to helping the busy up-and-coming Latina entrepreneurs get organized with their life and business and live a more fulfilling life. We will discuss how to overcome adversities in your mindset and business growth and to remind you que sí se puede. Hey everyone, welcome to the Latina Lifestyle Legacy Podcast. And here we have Raquel Cordova, who is also known as RaqC, and she is the Queen of Spanglish Media. Hola, hola, welcome.
Hi, everybody.
Yay. Thank you so much for being here, taking the time. And yeah, we're going to kind of just to start off like an icebreaker question. I like to ask people, what did they love about their week? And what was the lesson for this week for you?
Wow, that's a great, I love icebreaker questions, by the way. You use these a lot in dating. But what have I loved about my week?
Mm-hmm.
I have loved that this week I have been able to sneak in a few naps.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I need to take a nap because I have a lot going on in my life or in my head. And I actually love a good nap. And I always make sure I put my timer on. I put it on for at least 30 minutes, nothing more. Because once I do over 30 minutes, I feel like I slow down.
Yeah.
So it's literally just like a power nap. I get up and then I'm just fully recharged for whatever I have coming up next.
Yeah.
And what is a lesson that I've learned this week?
Yes.
A lesson that I've learned this week is that I gotta manage my time a little bit better when it comes to my vending machine business.
Okay.
So it's one of my businesses that I have, and it's new to me, and I'm learning it, and I'm learning the system of it,
Mm-hmm.
and so I'm learning. I'm learning as I go, and I don't have the formula down yet, and so I'm used to having the formula down in a lot of different things in my life, but since it's new, I don't quite have it yet. So yeah, that's my lesson this week when I went to go visit different locations was I just got to manage my time a little bit better when it comes to that business. But I'll get there. And I'm not being too hard on myself because I know it's something new. So before you know it, I'm going to have it down packed.
Yeah. That's exciting. Yeah. And I'll have a couple questions on related to that because you have multiple businesses, which is incredible. So definitely that's one of your newer ones. Well, thank you for sharing that. And I wanted to kind of dive deep into, as I introduced you to, you're the Queen of Spanglish Media. You started off with being in your 10 years with 96.3 radio. I remember everybody, I'm sure if they're listening, they remember your voice. You have such a unique voice. And I think I heard you once you left, the radio, but then I heard you on a podcast and I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to follow her. I need to, your vibe. It was just awesome. So what do you feel like it was the biggest lesson for you from that experience being in radio?
So, oh my gosh, I absolutely loved my time in traditional radio.
Mm-hmm.
I just loved, I never really looked at my career when I got into it as this platform, or I never thought of it in what am I going to be 10 years from now? Or what am I going to build from this opportunity? I always really, truly did radio because I absolutely love to communicate with my audience. I love to communicate with people. I love people genuinely.
Mm-hmm.
And every day when I was on traditional radio, I was happy. I was just happy. I see a microphone and it just lights me up. It gives me life. To me, the microphone has been my tool to really be able to express myself, express my energy, express my comedy, express everything that I'm feeling, right?
Yeah.
Turn my sadness into joy, being able to make a family's day by giving them a family 4-pack to Disneyland, right? Families that probably in their mind, they could never afford something like that since Disneyland can be a bit pricey. So I never got into my career of radio with like this plan per se, right? Because I see where my life has evolved now, and I'm so thankful. And I know that my life is what it is now because of the foundation that I built being in traditional radio. And the biggest thing that I could tell you I've taken away from that entire experience is the importance of building a brand, you know? And the thing is, I wasn't even intentionally building a brand. Yeah, I was just showing up every day, being me, and bringing my energy fully and completely to what I was doing. I didn't have any other source of income. Radio was it for me. When I tell you that I dove into radio, I dove into radio. I didn't care if I had to work Christmas, New Year's, Thanksgiving. I didn't care. I loved it that much that to me, it was worth not spending time with my family. It was just beautiful because I enjoyed it that much. And so my biggest takeaway is I was able to create a brand from me genuinely and truly showing up as my most authentic self every day to this radio station and to the couple radio stations that I worked at. Because I worked in LA, but then I started interning in LA. I went to Palm Springs, I went to Chicago, came back to LA, worked at a couple of stations in LA. So it was a journey. It was a lot of ups and downs. It was a lot of learning lessons. It was a lot of me getting in trouble for being so vocal. So as I was going through this experience, through this journey in traditional radio, I was learning so much. I was learning about the importance of my voice, right? Because as much as I love my voice and people love my voice, I always would, and I still to this day on social media, I would get bullied for my voice. I would always get told that why is my voice so raspy? Like, I sound like a man. Was I born a man? Am I transgender? Stuff like that. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, like God happened to give me a strong, powerful, unique voice that I swear I'll be in the craziest, most low-key places and people are like, you're RaqC, huh? You know? And I'm like, yeah, like I was at the AAA office the other day handling some business and these three girls just came up to me. They're like, you're RaqC. We know it. We listen to you on the radio. We listen to your podcast now. Like your voice is so unique. So I never really tried. I have a saying next to my bed that says, just be. I mean, these days I see so many people trying so hard to be something. And I'm just like, I literally have gotten my success by showing up being authentically myself, you know? And before the word authenticity was even a thing, right? Because I think that word gets thrown around so much these days. But I think sometimes instead of using a word, you actually got to embody a word. Like you got to jump into that word and become that word. And that was me every single day. And so I was able to create a brand out of this. And I was able to, RaqC became my brand, right? And now I create my companies with my name on it because it's what has developed from me just showing up, being me.
Yeah, definitely. And I really admire that about you because you, even though you've been in media and like, you really haven't let it influence you in like a negative way, or like you've always stayed like true to yourself and to who you are. And I think, that's pretty, like, that's admirable because I'm sure there's a lot of like influences bad influences in that type of profession.
I've seen a lot in my career. And I remember, and there's people right now, and always remember this to anybody that's watching this, there's people that will come into your life at an early, let's just say like at an early point in your career, whatever your career may be, whether you're a doctor, whether you're, a nurse, whether you're an entrepreneur, whatever you do, right? But I remember interning. I was interning at Power 106 in LA, and my boss was Jeff Garcia, and he's the sports dude, right? And I remember he was like, you have a future, like you're going places. And I was like, thank you. Like to hear that from your boss while you're interning, getting community college credit is like, oh my God, this is pretty cool. He sees something in me, right? Because I definitely didn't know what the heck I was doing on the radio. I didn't know what I was doing when I would record commercials. I was just like, okay, I got to record this. And then I would be so embarrassed to record commercials because I didn't have a full understanding of what it was to record. And, you know, I was like, can you step out of the room while I record? And he was like, you're interning with me? Like, what do you mean step out of the room? Like, I need to see the way you do this, right? But I remember one time we were having a conversation when I was already a bit more comfortable there. And he goes, remember, he says, don't ever believe your own hype. He says, you will have, as you progress in this career, you will build an audience and let your audience hype you up. But the day you swallow your own hype is the day you're done in this industry. And so now that, my gosh, I started my radio career at 19, right? So I'm like a veterana, right? Like I started so young, fresh out of high school. And I'm so, so, so thankful that he told me those words, because I took those words to the heart, because he was a really important mentor in my life. And I literally, that's exactly who I am. Like my audience could show me love, and I'm so thankful. But I've never been like, oh yeah, like I am RaqC, and I like, no, because it could be all taken away from you so fast. And it has been. I've had some really low moments in my career where it's just like, oh my gosh, you know? So when mentors speak and they tell you certain things, there's certain mentors in your life where you will always carry those words with you forever. And they will always be those words that like change your life, you know, or help you stay grounded. So shout out to Jeff Garcia, because he did that for me.
Yes, shout out to him. And yeah, that is super powerful, like the mentors and the people you surround yourself with. And I want to kind of go towards like, now you have your own podcast with your sister. So it is called Straight Up Sister, the podcast with RaqC and Susie. And I mean, I am a loyal listener, and there's like thousands, millions of people that are also listening. And it's so powerful. Like I have 5 sisters, so it's like super cool when you guys kind of like, you know, have your little arguments, but it's all love at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, I love it. But how has that experience been for you? Like I'm sure, I mean, you guys kind of talk about it. Like it's so freeing. Like you don't have that limit of like conversation or topics that you have to talk about. Like you guys can talk about whatever, right?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Having my podcast with my sister has been such a cool experience, especially really seeing my sister grow into her own voice.
Yeah.
Right?
I love Susie. Like shout out.
Oh my God.
You guys are so different too. So it really helps bring both perspectives, and it like balances you guys out. So it's cool.
Yeah. Like my sister is a vibe, and she's always been a vibe. She's always had that like feistiness about her. We come from a line of guerreras. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But working with my sister, has been such a pleasure, because we're very different. You know what I mean? Like I'm single, not married, no kids. Susie's been married twice, has my nephew, you know, has a blended family.
Yeah.
So we definitely see things differently.
Yeah.
We see a lot of things the same, right? But we see some things differently, and there's certain things that she doesn't understand about me, or I don't understand about her. But it's not, but that's life, right? Like not everybody sees things the way you see things, but it doesn't mean you have to hate them or you can't work together. So many people want, but it's this mutual respect that Susie and I have created for one another, right? Like I absolutely respect my sister, and we were, from a young age, we were taught by my dad that our siblings, we should always be right with our siblings, right? I mean, I think when I hear those stories, like, man, RaqC, I have sisters and we haven't talked in 2-3 years. Like, I seriously can't relate to that, because should anything bother me or my sister or my brother, we talk about it. Like, hey, sis, I didn't like the way you raised your voice at me, or I, you know, I found that a little bit disrespectful. Let's talk about this, right? But it's been such a great feeling to launch this project with her, because the freedom that I have coming from traditional radio and actually having something to compare it to. Like my sister doesn't have anything to compare it to, but I have a career of traditional radio and politics, and you know, I could never even cuss. I mean, you can't cuss on traditional radio. The FCC will fine you. So, you know, being able to, when we do have guests, go there and ask those questions, it is of freedom of, we have no limit. You know what I mean? We have no limit. And we really, I feel with that no limit comes great interviews and great conversations with people, because we're not afraid to go there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We're not afraid to talk about domestic violence and the ugly cycle and trauma. And once in a while, drop an F-bomb or say shit and be like, oh, like, I kid you not. It was this training, this incredible training that I had when I was on the air. I never cussed. It never even slipped. It was just this automatic knowing, like, on the air, you do not cuss. And I had a boss that would always tell me, remember, RaqC, you're catering to that mom that's driving the minivan. And I would be like, oh God, okay. You know what I mean? So what does that translate into? You got to be family friendly. And I think I did a good job of doing that, you know, being family friendly when I was on traditional radio in LA. But after a while, as you get older and you want to talk about real things in life, that gets old. Like, I'm not trying to talk to the women driving the minivan. I'm trying to talk to these women that are actually living and going through life. And I want to get down to the nitty gritty. So to have that freedom is priceless. I don't take it for granted. And to be able to own our show, to be able to do whatever we want with it when it comes to our merchandise line, when it comes to taking our show on the road, when it comes to, you know, talking to sponsors that want to sponsor our tour next year, 2023. Like, you know what? We have choices. You know, I don't want to work with them, or we do want to work with them. In traditional radio and sometimes working for a corporation, you really don't have a choice. You abide by their rules, and that's just how it is, because they're paying you every 2 weeks. So the freedom that I feel with my sister at the podcast, I say we do God's work, because the feedback that we get from our podcast is incredible.
I just love the conversation, like the different topics that are so, and both of you have like such experience, like you know what I mean? Like, in different ways. And I think a lot of women, the Latino community, because I feel like, you know, men can listen to, like,
we do. We get a lot of male listeners.
Like they learn so much, like a vagina steam or like the gut health, like, and I love that it's just like random, but they're all like super important topics. And you just put, like you always say, like, you put people on game, like with like certain things and health and wealth and everything. So I love that.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Shout out to everybody that listens to our podcast. And
because it's not easy. It's a whole other job too. I can only imagine like the time commitment. And you guys have like your own studio. You get people there. So that's awesome.
We have our own studio in a commercial building, and the vision for the podcast is to really be able to bring other Latina podcasts like under our network, and really give you guys that opportunity to say, hey, you know, we'll produce it for you. We'll do the imaging for you. You just got to come show up and commit to a podcast. And that's what happens is so many people want a podcast, and they think it's so easy, but like anything, if you're not consistent, it's not going to work. Like, our podcast is about to hit 3 million downloads, and that comes with consistency every single week. And we show up and we look at our calendars and we make it work, even though I'm traveling and Susie's traveling. And we, you know, if we have to be at the studio one day to record 3 shows, that's what we're going to do, because the audience is depending on every Wednesday an episode drops. So if you're not willing to commit to anything, don't ever plan on being successful, right? For some people, consistency may translate to routine, which may translate to boredom, but consistency is the only way you are going to reach any type of milestone. So if just go work a regular job if you're not willing to be consistent to create stuff for yourself, because it will never work.
Effort and everything. And what about working? I mean, it doesn't have to be just with like family, but like, what is your advice when it comes to having a business partner? I'm sure, I don't know, you know, what tips do you have for that for people who either want to start a podcast or a different type of business, but with a person?
Yeah, you know, that's a really good question, because I feel like there's so many people that actually can do things by themselves, but don't believe in themselves. They don't believe they have the capacity to do it. So they always feel like they need a business partner, right? And some businesses, like for example, some of my businesses, I have a business partner, some of them I don't. It's just me and my business manager, which helps me, right? But like, for example, my podcast, right? I could have done a podcast alone, but I wanted to do a podcast with my sister because she's opinionated and I knew it would be a great asset to the show. So my first tip to anybody that is thinking about getting into any type of partnership, especially in business, is be picky. Don't just go work with somebody because they got the capital to help you do what you got to do. Like, they may have the capital, but maybe they don't have the work ethic that you operate from, right? So many people may be swayed by like, oh, well, this person's going to be my investor. And so I'm just going to do business with them. And then it turns into the biggest shit show because you were operating from a place of like, I need that money. I need that money. When you operate from a place of money, always, money's important. And I love talking about money because I've developed a good relationship with money because money is energy. And I'm all about energy, right? So when you start embracing the energy of money, right? And the fact that it comes and it goes and it flows in and it flows out and we deposit and we withdraw, right? So my thing is be picky with who you're going to get into a partnership with. And that could apply to even marriage. That could apply to courting, boyfriend and girlfriends, right? Is be picky when it comes to partnership. Another thing is, if you're going to go into business with somebody, make sure that they know how to communicate and a communication style that works for you. Not like a communication style where you feel like you're pulling teeth. Because communication in business is so critical to the equation. If you cannot communicate with your business partner a concern, right? Like, hey, you know what? X, Y, and Z, or whatever. And without your business partner getting offended or insulted when it's business. It's a business conversation. So I don't know about you or your followers that are watching this, but I'm a different person when it comes to business. I'm Raquel with my family. I'm RaqC when it comes to business. But when it comes to like really solidifying deals and doing things, sometimes and most of the time, my emotional brain goes out the door. I operate from a really logical standpoint. Like if we're talking about money, if we're talking about contracts, you're probably not going to see the RaqC that you're used to. You're going to see this whole different side of me. And it's kind of cool because I always try to tell women, like, sometimes you need to really turn off that emotional side of you when it comes to business and operate from that logical place where you're not bringing all your feelings into this deal that you're about to do that could be life-changing, you know? So that would be my two big tips is be picky and get and have open communication and learn how to dialogue with your business partners. Learn how to dialogue clearly, concisely, precisely. But yeah, your business partner has to know you and you have to know them. And I've never really gone into business with somebody that I don't, kind of build something with before doing it, right? Like, or I've been introduced to this person by another person in the business or whatever, right? So like I have a jewelry partner. Her name is Nadia Lee. She's Vietnamese. I've been working with her for 5 years. And I was introduced to her by another colleague of mine in this industry. She's more like in the fashion type of industry, marketing and fashion. And so I was able to build a relationship with Nadia as I had my relationship with my other friend, and I was able to kind of see like how she runs her business, how she communicates, how she goes the extra mile for her business and for her brands and for the projects that she's dedicated to. So I was like, you know what, this person would be somebody cool to do business with, right? So when the opportunity came for us to become business partners and start my hoop collection in 2018, it was like, like I've seen the way she moves. I see that she operates from integrity. I want to do business with her. And here we are 5 years later, right? So those two things are super important in business.
Yes. And that your like the lifestyle brand with it's called Brazen by RaqC. So that is, and you sell like t-shirts, hats, sunglasses, and yeah, all of like the fun style that you have, and people can shop through that on your website. And
Yes.
I love that you are very diverse in your business. And I think sometimes people can also feel like, oh, like I have too many passions, or I feel like I just hosted an online networking event yesterday, and like all of us are like passionate about multiple things, right? And sometimes people can feel like bad about it, but it's beautiful. But there's also a way to run your business, like you said, and making profit and efficiently. So what I have a question, like, how do you manage your what financial advice do you have for managing multiple businesses? And I know you mentioned you have like a business manager, so does that person like kind of run it for you? Is that like what you would recommend?
So I would recommend that if you're at that point where you are financially, like, you need that, right? You need that and you could afford that, right? But that wasn't always the case for me. So when you're an entrepreneur, and you know this, Raina, you learn as you go, because our parents are not Steve Jobs and these people that are teaching us like, this is what an S corp, this is what a DBA is, this is what this is what all these things that we need to know. My parents didn't teach me that, because they didn't know, and probably a lot of people watching this, their parents didn't know anything. I was abundantly spoiled with love in my household growing up. I had a fun childhood. I was spoiled with love. I never doubted that I was loved in my childhood. But, and I don't resent my parents for not making me business savvy. This was my journey, and it is my journey that I had to learn. And now I get to teach people this, and I get to bring my sister into certain deals that I create and school my mom on social media and marketing for her business. But, so when it comes to business, I've had to learn as I go, right? I've taken some financial losses. I've made a lot of mistakes along the way. And there was a point where, and so the thing is I've learned in my business journey is you got to respect your businesses. One thing is I'm RaqC. Another thing is I am RaqC, the brand, right? So I have my company, RaqC Enterprises, Inc., right? That's my S Corp. But then I have Brazen, which is a complete other entity. And then I have RaqC Snack Shack, which is a complete other entity. And then I have RaqC's World Productions for my production jobs that I do. So everything is separated. And so what I find, especially to a lot of the women that are like in beauty, that have like their solar salons and they're doing eyelashes, or they're doing, Brazilian wax or whatever, right? A lot of these girls, because they're independent, right? They're independent. They're 1099 employee is when you, a 1099, when you have a 1099 form, you basically, you get paid all the money up front, and then you do taxes, and that money will eventually get taxed, right? It's your responsibility to file those taxes. I'm not going to get into all that tax talk, right? But it's confusing. It's confusing if you're not willing to dive in to understand that, or if you don't have like a coach. And this is where mentoring comes in. This is where humbling yourself comes in. Saying, you know what? I don't know about this. I don't know about this. This is where listening to resources like podcasts come in, where they actually stimulate your mind to say, oh my gosh, I'm possibly not running my business correctly, right? I didn't know that so this is, people that may have businesses, that we may ask ourselves these questions. Like I asked myself these questions, and I ended up going to one of my mentors, and I was like, hey, so I don't have medical insurance. So like, I haven't had medical insurance for like 5 years, right?
Yeah.
I keep getting fined when I do my taxes, and it's just like, oh, you didn't know that your taxes, your medical insurance is a tax write-off when you pay it through your company. And it's just like, it is? Oh my God. Asking these questions when you realize like, your company starts to pay for different things.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of different things start becoming a tax write-off for you, but nobody's telling you this stuff, right? Maybe if you go to business school, I don't know. I didn't finish college. I don't know if they're teaching you this stuff, but there are people that have this knowledge out there. There are people that can help you. Ask those questions. If you are confused about business, and so I know girls, right? And thank God they've opened up to me and they've told me this stuff, and I'm like, or I'll bring it up, like, hey, so do you have like a complete separate account for this business entity of yours? And they're like, no, people pay me and it goes straight into my personal. I'm like, so you're operating like a sole proprietor when you have this is your brand. I know you as your brand, but everybody's paying you through your personal, like, you're supposed to separate that, right? And they're like, I am? And I'm like, yes. So like one of my biggest business tips to people that may be getting into business is separate all of your entities. Every single one of your entities should be separate, right? Should be its own, whatever you want it to be. An S Corp, an LLC, a C Corp, whatever. It needs to be something. So I got to a point where I was just like, man, life is good, right? And everything was coming in through my name. And I got to a point where one day I got hit with a major tax bill. And I was like, oh, hell no. Like, what? Something's wrong here. Like, what? And it's not even that. I'm a 1099er. So I had to pay taxes on the money that I had made, right? So I was like, yeah, no, I will never be hit with the bill this high again, right? I mean, and people that pay taxes, it's because they probably have made good money throughout the year. So I literally prayed and I was like, God, direct me to the person that I need to call. And so, right, I dove into my network. And I was directed to these two individuals, which then directed me to my now business manager. Shout out to Jenny. And she was like, she works with a certain client that hits a certain amount of budget. There's business managers that are going to work with you when you earn a certain amount of money, right? So thank God she was like, she only works more with like people in entertainment. And she was like, you have no budget. And I was like, I love having no budget. I love just being able to tap in and grab whatever I want. She was like, no, we're about to put you on a budget because that's not the way it works. And I'm like, what? And it's just like, but that discipline and having people come into your life and obviously respecting her as your business manager that is getting everything in order for you. So you're not a mess when it comes to your taxes and what's a write-off and what's not your write-off. But you literally, when you get to the point of having a business manager, they know everything about your finances. They know, they have access to every single one of your accounts. I mean, obviously, if you're going to hire a business manager, you have to sign an agreement with them, a confidentiality agreement. They're not out there divulging your business or your finances. But, hopefully you do enough your due diligence where you hire a business manager that's ethical, right? Thank God this came from a high recommendation. And I usually just work with people that are like recommended to me when it comes to things like that. But, she was able to really get my things in order. And I'm so thankful for her. And I've been working with her now for some years. And I'm thankful because now I'm at a point where I'm just like, if I have a question about something, if I'm confused, I'm like, Jenny, and she'll have an answer for me. And or even when it comes to decisions or financial decisions or things that I want to spend money on. And she's just like, well, maybe you should buy it through this entity, or maybe this is how you're going to have to do it. This is how you're going to have to position it. This is how it could be a write-off. But I love her. I love her because, she's so on me and she's so detailed that she's like, hey, your car registration payment's coming up. Make sure you pay that from this account because it's a write-off for me. So I'm so thankful there are resources out there like that. But if you're not at that point yet, I still want to advise you to separate your entities and to respect your business accounts. Just because your business accounts, let's just say one of your business accounts has $75,000 in it, right? Don't go F that money off. Because you are like, oh, well, I got money. No, your business is making money, but your checking account keep it at a low balance all the time.
Yeah.
I have to literally do that to myself sometimes because
If
I
you
have
see
to,
it.
you literally have to
Yeah.
play tricks with your mind. Like, no, I don't got the money to do it, even though you do.
Yeah.
But it's respect your business accounts. I see too many people that have business accounts that are successful in their businesses, and they're constantly dabbling in and out of those accounts. And I'm like, no, you need to respect your businesses. I mean, unless you have to really dive in there because you can't afford to pay your mortgage and you really got to tap in. Absolutely. Don't even ask your business manager at that point. This is what I got to do to pay my bills. But for the most part, respect your business entities and don't dibble dabble in them. You know, one thing is your personal, everything else is your business, and treat it as such.
I love that. And I think that also, I mean, it starts with like managing your own personal budget, and then like, and respecting your business, like you said, treat it like, even if it's just, you're just starting off, it's like, treat it like a business, and your goal is to, you know, grow it. And one thing I really, like love and admire about you is that you're such an abundant thinker. And like, I hear it like in your podcast, like, you're always like, why not? Like, yeah, I can afford it. Yeah, I can do this. And there's not I mean, there are people out there, but I think sometimes we can have like that limiting mindset or that limiting talk. What would you say like people need to stop saying or start saying in order for them to like shift that mentality that they can do it, they can accomplish that goal? Because I feel many people kind of like, you know, shut their own self down, right?
So many times we are our own worst enemy.
Literally.
What's happening in here is everything. Everything. Like, what happens between this little dome could make you or break you. I just did a Snapchat about that the other day. Like, it is, mental health is a lot of different things, right? It's who are you surrounding yourself with? What type of books are you reading? Are you even reading? What is your self-talk sounding like? That to me is major key, right? And so so what I will tell to the people is self-talk is so critical, because the thing is this, it's even more critical than the words that you're speaking, right? The words that you're speaking are super critical, but even if you never say like, I'm broke, but all you think about is being broke in your head, and you're like, well, nobody could hear me. You know, nobody knows, because if all you do is repeat that over and over and over and over and over again, you never even have to say it, but that is your thought process, right? So be just heighten your awareness to the way you speak, right? Get some good mentors that talk about this. When you read the book, The 4 Agreements, which is my ultimate favorite book, I've reread it so many times. I actually had the honor of interviewing Don Miguel Ruiz. It's on my YouTube channel. Best interview of my life. Like, that is one person I wanted to interview before I exit this dimension of life. And I did. And he was so humble. I was like, oh my God, Don Miguel Ruiz, I am so honored to meet you. And he goes, in his soft, gentle, loving voice, he said, I'm honored to meet you too. Because I am not better than you, and you are not better than me.
Dang.
Oh, girl, I started crying.
I know.
Like, oh,
you're like,
God.
Okay.
I was like, I need my makeup retouch, because it was so humble. Like, but it's just people like him that in one of his books, I mean, in one of the chapters, one of the agreements is be impeccable with your word. And if you're going to do anything, because all you do is curse your life with negativity, is pick up that book and just read that chapter if you need it. I suggest you read the whole thing, and it's literally just like a really thin book. It's a super easy read. But that chapter puts it all into perspective. And it talks about how we as humans, we are constantly cursing our lives with black magic in the way we talk. I can't. I'm too old. I'm too fat. I'm too short. What? I mean, so you just cursed yourself. So, but it has become so normal, and people do it just without even realizing that they're doing it, because it's like so normal to them, that people are constantly throwing black magic out into the universe, and especially into their own lives. Wow. So when you start understanding that agreement, right? Because everything in life is an agreement. I agreed to do this podcast with you. I also agreed to go to this event that I'm going to tonight. I also agree that my air conditioner is on right now. Everything we do in life is an agreement that and we either agree to it or not, right? So everything's an agreement. And if you make an agreement, like, I am going to be very conscious of the words that I speak moving forward, your mind is going to know that. I always say, whatever you tell your mind, the body will follow. It literally, mind, body, soul connection is so real. And people try to come, oh, well, you just say that because you do yoga and yoga's like Satan. I'm like, wait, what? Yeah. Like, where in the Bible does it say it's against the word to move and become self-aware and awaken? Like, you don't think God wants that for your life? So I love God. And so I always tell people that I mentor too, like, remember who created you, right? The person that created you, not your parents, but like the person that decided that you were actually going to, be that little swimmer, that one, he created it all. Yeah. So if he created it all and he's your daddy, right? You have access to everything abundantly, right? Like, the world is mine because my father created that. And I'm not trying to get religious, you guys, I'm not. But when I think abundance, I think that way. I think, if God created this planet and he created me to be in it, wouldn't he want me to live an abundant life? And me not living an abundant life, I'm not trying to disappoint him. I'm trying to get it all, honey. I'm trying to make him proud. So when I think of abundance, I think of that. I think of, why can't I have it? Why not? So my answer to a lot of things is, why not? Or let's do it. You know what I mean? Like, when I started working with Santiago, which you know from ITA Global, right? My travel business partner. I've been working with them for 5 years now. And a lot of times I'm like, hey, Santiago, I want to do this. I want to go here. I want to go there. He's like, oh, well, and I'll catch him off guard. And I'm like, we could do this. Yeah. Let's make it happen. He's like, all right, let's make it happen. But I will try to do something. Yeah. And most of the time I manifest that. But I really do live in an abundant space. And I remember one time doing, like, one of my mentors did an activity with me. And sometimes you need to get a visual in order to understand abundance, right? So I remember one time he said to me, if you go to the ocean, let's just say 1 million of us go to the ocean, right? And we all take a bucket to take water out of the ocean, right? Your bucket is large. My bucket is extra large. Somebody else's bucket is bigger than both of our buckets. Somebody took a small bucket. Some people take medium buckets. But we all go to the ocean, 1 million of us, and we all dip our buckets into the water. Will there still be water in the ocean? Yeah. Because that's how abundant the universe is. And so just because you got a bigger bucket than me and I got an even bigger bucket than you, and somebody has a triple bucket than us and a small bucket, there's enough for everything. Like, so when people operate from that scarcity mindset, like, oh my God, I'm going to hold. That's why I share information. When people hoard information, I've never understood that, because I'm like, there's enough for everybody. And that's why you don't succeed, because you think there isn't. So when I got that visual on abundance, it changed the game. And I was like, I will never not operate in abundance, because if 1 million of us go to the ocean and get out water, there's still going to be water. There's enough for everybody. That's so true.
And I love that you you truly live that way. And you like your nice things, and I think that it's possible. You show people like it is possible being like smart with your money, but also believing in yourself that like you could do it first, right? Quick commercial break. My new Organize and Achieve Your Life and Business Goals online course is now available. Stop feeling overwhelmed, overworked, and unorganized. This course will help you focus more on your health, family, and make strategic hires to free up a lot of your time. And we're not going to overcomplicate things. Instead, we're going to simplify, automate, and delegate. Click the link down below to register today. I wanted to also talk about like how do you stay like kind of organized with your life and goals. What are some things that you do to like check in with yourself, do like a weekly self inventory? Like what are some of those habits that you do?
So, I love to do yoga at my house. Mm-hmm. I breathe into life a lot, right? Mm-hmm. When you understand the power of breathing and the power of breath, and I'm talking about intentional breath, not breathing like me and you are breathing right now because we're alive. I'm talking about like really breathing into your day or your gratitude. Like, oh my God, you know what, God, thank you. Like I have moments, Raina, where I look at my fingers and I talk to my fingers and I'm like, God, thank you, fingers, for doing everything you do for me. Yeah. My toes, my knees, my elbows, like all this, like what would we be without it? And how many times do we stop and thank our body for what it does for us on a daily? Because it's like speaking life. You speak life into your plants, you speak life into people, you speak life into kids. I think my entire appreciation for the anatomy of the human body was elevated when I became a Kundalini yoga teacher, like a lot more, because I have my anatomy books here in my office, and it's like, it's so fascinating the way the body works. Like, it's incredible what you can create or what you can destroy with your body.
Yeah.
This is the most powerful thing, and we're either speaking life into it, breathing life into it, or completely destroying it, right? Or finding that middle ground, because balance is important too, right? Like, is alcohol the healthiest thing to drink? No. But are we going to be santitas? No, we're not. Yeah. We're going to do the 80-20 rule. 80% of the time, we're doing great things. We're staying organized. We're being in balance. We're in flow. We're breathing. 20% of the time, we're going to fuck shit up if we want to, right? Some people do 90-10. Yeah. Some people do 70-30. Some people do 50-50, whatever works. I try to do 80-20 because that just works for me. Because if I was a 50-50 person, I don't think I would be able to accomplish everything that I have, right? So I do a lot of yoga. I do a lot of stretching. Ridiculous like moves when it comes to my stretching. I gotta keep my body flowing. If my body's not flowing, my life is not flowing. Yeah. And I wish more people would understand that. If my body's not flowing, my life is not flowing, because you start to feel stuck. Yeah. And movement is everything, right? What happens if you don't move in life?
You're stagnant.
I mean, you're not hitting your goals. You're just like, well, no, I'm just gonna. Stillness is good, but movement is good too, right? So again, that balance. So I become still when I do yoga in my breathing. I start off with breathing exercises, and then there's a technique. If you want to learn something real quick when it comes to breathing, there's a technique. It's called it's box breathing, right? So it's a really simple technique on how to like control your breath. So like you take a deep breath in, you suspend your breath, you go like this, you go down, and then you exhale. So like it's about holding and suspending your breath so you can create those intentionalities. Like, what are you breathing into? So you breathe into your intention, you suspend it, and then you exhale. You can exhale through your mouth. You can exit through your nose, whatever works for you, right? So I stop and I breathe. And I know it sounds
so simple. Yeah.
It's so simple. But how many people are doing this?
Yeah,
nobody's doing this. A lot of people are not doing this. And this is why we have anxiety. Yeah. This is why we have depression. This is why we have panic attacks. Because we're not checking in with ourselves. We're not even giving ourselves the opportunity to breathe, which blows my mind.
Yeah.
Like, if I start talking about breathing and yoga, people will try to curse me. But if the doctor tells you need Xanax or whatever the hell, all those pills, they're going to believe the doctor before they believe me. And that is sad because your body has the capacity to heal itself, right? So what do I do to stay organized? And was that the question? What do I do to stay organized?
Yeah, like self inventory on yourself. I mean, that's a habit that you do, that you do your yoga, you do kundalini yoga. Yeah, and I went to one of your classes, which was super. It's something simple, but yeah, you're like sore, your body, like you're just getting things like a detox in a different way, right? So I love that. But anything like, what do you use, a planner, like how do you kind of stay organized with all your
I create, my phone, I have all my calendar, like I have my phone paired up with my laptop. So I put all my appointments on my phone.
Okay.
I'm not like that old school planner that brings out like the paper planner. Like that works for my sister because she's a hairdresser.
Yeah.
Right. But I'm a real big like list person. So I always have a notebook with me. I'm always writing down my list. If I don't have my notebook, I write my list down on my phone. And then I also have a whiteboard here. Yeah. And whatever I put on my whiteboard, right now it says hello, beautiful. But whatever I put on my whiteboard, because I conquered my goals for the day. Oh. So as I conquer my goals, I delete them, right?
How many goals do you put?
It depends. Sometimes that board only has one goal because it's that important, right? It has to be done. And so sometimes I've noticed that even though we think multitasking is productive, sometimes we try to do too much and we don't do anything. So there's moments that board has 10 things that I'm like, this week we're accomplishing 10 things. And then there's moments that board has 2 goals, 3 goals, 1 goal, right? And then there's moments that I make myself a list for the week, or there's moments that I write things to do today. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And so I'm done for the day. Like I knew that I had this to do. I have a private event to go to tonight, but I've done everything I needed to do for the day.
For the day, yeah.
But before I leave, I'm going to write my list of what I have to do tomorrow. So I know my office for me is like my safe space. It's where this is the get it done room, you know? And so if it's on that whiteboard, it needs to get done. And if it doesn't get done by Friday or even Sunday, because sometimes I work on the weekends, I feel so guilty. Right? Of like, man, okay, I lagged it on that. Like, what was that about, RaqC? Yeah. Like, and then I'll have this self-dialogue, you know, like, I don't know if you talk to yourself, but I do.
Yeah.
You know, I have a lot of self-dialogue, like, and then I like to journal a lot. I like to journal, you know, I like to ask myself questions. I have journal prompts that I have just different booklets that I have. Like, I have a couple of girls, like for example, one of my girls, she came out with this, it's called Dueña Daily Planner Mindset Check-in. Okay. Right. Oh. And so it's like, for example, the PM check-in, right? What went well today? I release. So this is what it looks like. It's like little boxes like that. What are you looking forward to tomorrow? What could have gone better? Hype yourself up for tomorrow. Right. And then I have another journal right here. It's called the 5-minute journal.
Yes, I love
right?
that.
So like I have the 5-minute journal. And then I also have this other book. It's called Q&A A Day for the Soul. 365 questions, 5 years, 1,825 answers. It's a 5-year journal. So this has prompts as well. Can you escape your racing thoughts or let them outrun you? So I just like things that prompt me to write that are random, because it's like, are they really random or is it exactly what I need that day? So I keep little tools on my desk that it's like when I'm here, I'm working. Like this is my, you know, I have my little, this is like my daily devotional.
Okay.
Right? It's like, because I got to connect with God. Here's my hard drive that I have a lot of important things in. And then this right here, this big thing is my RaqC Snack Shack everything, right? Oh, wow. So I have a big project that I have to do with that tomorrow, right? I have to make a couple of calls. So I'm leaving it right here because it's my reminder that tomorrow I got to dedicate myself to do that in the morning. Yeah. So I think everybody has their own style and way of doing things. But a lot of times when I need to get something done, I literally I leave it like in my
where you can see it, yeah,
to get it done. Because the worst thing is you not getting shit done. And because imagine if you could disappoint yourself, you could disappoint a lot of other people. And I don't like disappointing myself. And, you know, and if I don't disappoint myself, I'm not going to disappoint other people because I'm hitting my goals. I'm being true to myself. I'm resting when I need to. I think a big misconception that a lot of people have is like, do you ever sleep? And I'm like, oh yeah, I get 8 hours of sleep every single night. Right. But I used to be that girl. Team no sleep. Hell yeah. Team no sleep. Yeah, no. I don't do that anymore because la mente tiene que reposar, you know? And when it does, I'm able to wake up at 6 in the morning, 7 in the morning, and be productive. So have, you know, whatever that routine looks like for you, to me, things have to be in my face. They have to be right here. And it's a reminder like, oh, did you read your devotional? Okay, yeah, pick it up. Before you even open anything, what is God trying to tell you today? And I'll read it, and I'm just like, oh man, like, dang, I needed to read that, you know, like, or I'll take a screenshot of it and I'll put it on my Snapchat, and so many people needed to hear that message too, you know? So that's what I'm talking about. Like, when it comes to sharing resources, like, you're not the only one that goes through what you go through.
Yeah, that's true.
So many people have the same thought processes, and also another big thing of keeping you on point is your eating habits. And I see you, you know, taking care of yourself, Reina. Like, anybody out there watching this that thinks that your mental clarity has nothing to do with what you intake and what you digest is 1000% wrong. Everything that you eat has an effect on you.
Yeah.
Everything. Yeah. So a lot of times you need to check yourself when it comes to your eating, because a lot of times that could really cloud up your mind when you're eating processed food or when you're not getting your vegetables or your water. Like right now I'm drinking tea. I love tea. It's a lavender tea. Am I saying you got to drink tea? No, but you don't got to overdo the coffee either.
Yeah.
So many people really are like, oh my God, I can't function without coffee. And I'm like, can you really not function without coffee, or have you told yourself that story?
Yeah.
You know, balance it out. Like, it's incredible the dialogue that we tell ourselves, and then we actually start to believe it after a while.
Yeah.
So I'm not perfect. Nobody's perfect. But do you need to create positive influences with yourself? Like, you need to influence yourself positively? Yeah. Like, you should be your main positive influence.
Yeah. Yeah. And if
before
you're not,
you go out there and look for that person that's going to motivate you. And it's so there's so many people that they need that. And I'm just like, you don't need that. You could become that for yourself. You just haven't found the way to do it. But I'm not out there seeking and looking, oh my God, who's going to speak life into me today? Me. It's my responsibility. I'm not calling my mom, give me the word, or looking for, you know, whoever your favorite person is on social media to speak this life into you. Like, you can't do it for yourself. And then you're raising children. Oh my goodness. So, you know what I'm saying? So it's a cycle that continues to repeat itself. So my goal for people is be your biggest influence before you start looking for that pour in from somebody else, and you start depending on that, because you think you can't do it on your own, because you absolutely can.
Yeah, you are you are a role model to that. Like, you've done it, and I think that's why so many people are like in awe of you. And I'm just so grateful for you to have, like, doing your podcast, still out there sharing your life. I know you're pretty, like, public, but you're also pretty private, so I love that, like, balance of you. I'm like,
yeah,
okay.
There's a big I
feel like there's a whole world, like, we don't know, and there's a whole world we do know. So
yes, exactly. And I love that, and I think that's the magic that I absolutely loved about radio, was being able to, you know, be out there and share myself with LA and but also have an entire private life. And you know that I choose not to share because it's private and it's sacred. And if I'm going to share anything more private, it's going to be done on my podcast platform where I'll open up and I'll get vulnerable. And if you're a loyal follower of the podcast, I have opened up about certain things that people are like, wow, like I never even knew you were going through that or that you went through that. And I'm just like, yeah, but the freedom and the power to be able to do it my way on my platform is pretty awesome. It really is. I love it.
Yay. Well, thank you so much, RaqC, for your time and being here. I am sure everyone's going to listen to this and they've learned so much. And yeah, where can they follow you and all that? We'll for sure post all your links like here in the show notes. So
yeah, so just follow me on social media on what my website is RaqConline.com. My social media is RaqC's World, just like straight across the platform, like Facebook, I'm RaqC. Snapchat, you can find me under Radio RaqC. Instagram is RaqC's World. Twitter is RaqC's World. Facebook is RaqC. All of my accounts are verified across the board. So yeah, if it's not a verified account, it's not me, you know? But yeah,
you're not selling crypto or anything.
No, I'm not selling crypto. No, I am me, and I'm one of one. So you'll know, like, if someone's trying to imitate me. But Snapchat is my biggest platform. I really love Snapchat so much. Everybody thinks Snapchat is dead. There's about 300 million daily users on Snapchat. It is far from dead. I never stopped using it, even when Instagram stories came around, because there was something about that app that I loved. It's like more private. You don't have like, it's not like, you know how Instagram has like you can see your pictures. It's just more like a private app. But it's really not that private because I get millions of views on there. So that is really my favorite platform. So if you really want to share, hear me go on I go off on Snapchat about a lot of different things. And I just feel like that's the platform for me to do it on. Instagram sees a little bit, but Snapchat is where it's at. And don't underestimate it. And Raina, are you on there?
Yeah, I'm on there.
Okay, good.
I don't post as much, but I know I need to be. I see your stuff.
Girl, that's where you gotta be posting.
I know.
Snapchat is popping.
Yeah, we gotta be on Snapchat. There's like so much TikTok. Now I'm like, no se acaba. YouTube.
I know. Yeah, I'm on TikTok too. I'm like, oh my God, I'm the grown and sexy on TikTok. Okay. But Raina, thank you so much. I'm so proud of you. You never even told them their story on how we met.
Oh yeah, well, we met through I was you have your nonprofit or Amigas for My Soul, and I got invited to speak at one of your events for like youth, they were like young women, young high school girls, and I kind of gave a talk about like goal setting and empowerment. And I remember I'm like, oh my God, this is RaqC. Like, and it was such a unique experience. And that's how, you first kind of like saw me, but then I started like following you. And then we went on a trip together to Colombia.
To Colombia.
You do trips. You're like such an advocate. And so I got inspired, and now I'm going to be doing a trip to Oaxaca, Mexico, with also ITA Global. So that's going to be,
I'm so excited for you.
Yes. And I want to, you're next. I saw that you're like Barcelona, who's down.
So I'm actually doing a trip to Cuba in March, and that trip sold out in 48 hours.
Yeah, your trips sell out like fast.
My trips sell out so fast because I think women already kind of know the kind of experiences that they're gonna have, and they're gonna be safe. And I'm so thankful that I have that trust with my audience where that you're going to be safe. And there, when we had Santiago, we just had him on the podcast this past episode, and 100% of their solo travelers are women. And there's this, women, we go through a lot. Listen, we're emotional creatures. We go through separations, we go through divorces, we go through, midlife crises, whatever. But because you went to Colombia with me, it's like so many of the women that come together are so like-minded in so many different ways. And so my trip to Cuba sold out. but I'm thinking, and I'm most likely going to do a trip to Barcelona in 2023. I think it's going to be like September-ish of 2023. But
I have to go. I am going. I am ready.
Yes, you are going, because what happens is so many women, and this happens in life, we sometimes overthink something, right? Something that you know is going to be so good for your soul, but you're like, oh my God, I don't know. So I had a couple women like, I got to think about it. I got to see if I can get the days off. And I said, well, listen, most likely after you've thought about it, it's probably going to be sold out. Yeah. My waiting list for Cuba is 21 people that wanted to go, that are like, I want to go. And I'm like, well, the trip is sold out. Yeah. So I don't know. Those 21 people are going to have to redirect somewhere else, or maybe I'll do another trip to Cuba. Who knows? Mm-hmm. But when I tell you these trips sell out so fast, they sell out so fast. Thank you, Jesus, right? That I have that reputation with women and they trust me. Mm-hmm. But traveling, you guys, is one of the main things that is so good for your mental health. Yeah. So if you're out there and you got to just disconnect, take a trip with me and get away and explore the world and see how big and beautiful the world is. Like, I love traveling. And when I have kids, Raina, I'm going to do mommy and me trips. Yeah. I'm going to do mommy and me trips, and we're all going to be out there looking cute, being MILFs. Okay?
I love it. I love it. Let's take a quick picture right now.
Let's take a picture.
Yay. Okay, ready?
Ready? Let's do it.
1, 2, 3. Yay!
Yay!
Thank you so much. Yes, I will. I'll share all of this, the whole interview with you, and I'll email you the details. Have a great time at your event.
Thank you, Mama. I'll see you soon. Okay, have fun in Oaxaca.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll be posting. You'll check it out.
Yeah, for sure.
Bye.
Okay, good night.